Real men forgive cheating, my daughter said like a verdict. Harper stood between me and a muted ball game, arms folded, chin high, 20 years old, and convinced she'd solved the mystery of adulthood. She had her mother's fire, sharp, bright, sometimes blinding. Since the divorce, she'd lived mostly with Vanessa, who could turn a story into silk and a wound into someone else's fault. Dad, I'm serious. You blew up a 15-year marriage over a single mistake. A single mistake. I set the remote down. Sit, Harp. She hovered, defiant, then sank into the edge of the couch. I walked to the bookcase, slid open a shallow panel I promised never to touch, and came back with a small silver USB. What's that? She asked, bravado thinning. The part of the story I didn't want you to carry, I said. If you see it, you can't unsee it. Then show me, she said, voice steady but eyes not. I plugged the drive into the TV. The first frame was our old place in Naperville, Illinois. Front walk, sugar maple, a date stamp from 4 summers ago. The door opened. Vanessa stepped out in a sunflower dress I'd bought for our anniversary. She checked the street, waved. A graphite sedan purred into the drive. A man in a tailored blazer got out. Confident, practiced smile, the kind worn by people who talk casually in boardrooms. Vanessa lit up. The embrace was long. The kiss was not friendly. Harper shifted. That could be. I fast-forwarded. New camera. Hallway. 30 minutes later, they stumbled and laughing. Hair mussed, clothes not as carefully arranged as before. They turned left, toward the kitchen. I let the clip run until the lights went off, and the timestamp blinked forward in silence. Keep watching, I said. Another day, different man, tattoo sleeve, motorcycle helmet tucked under his arm. Another week. 2 men who treated my house like a hotel lobby. Then came the footage I dreaded playing. I watched Harper's hand start to tremble before the angle even shifted. The screen cut to a doorway upstairs. Harper's doorway. A printed poster still on the wall. Her quilt folded on the chair. Vanessa led them in and pulled the door closed. Turn it off, Harper whispered. Dad, please. I clicked pause. The room was so quiet I could hear the wall, clock, counting our breaths. How many? She asked, voice shredded. In 3 weeks. 7 different men. Some more than once. I installed cameras after the hotel receipts didn't match her travel stories. I hope to be wrong. She folded forward, hands on her knees. Mom said it was once. With her boss. She said you. She stopped, the sentence evaporating. We can stop, I offered. No, she said, straightening. Not anymore. When she finally spoke again, her voice had changed. Less heat, more gravity. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you were 16, I said. And because you adored her. I couldn't be the man who crushed that before you were ready to see what it cost. She stood and paced, hair in her fists like she could pull the day back into place. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed. Mom, come to Dad's. Now. No, here. Her jaw set. Because I saw the videos. She hung up and stared at the door like she could drag time forward by will alone. When she gets here, Harper said, Don't say a word unless I ask you to. I nodded. I'll be here. Exactly 28 minutes later, the bell rang. Vanessa swept in. Cashmere, perfect hair, the kind of perfume that smelled like a strategy. Sweetheart, what's going on? Harper didn't hug her. Explain why you brought men into my room. Vanessa blinked. A hairline crack in glass. I don't know what your father showed you, but I saw. The recordings, Harper said. In my space. That was a rough time, Vanessa said smoothly, turning to me with practiced offense. You're poisoning her with edited clips. Edited. Harper's laugh was small and terrified. That's your defense. I didn't speak. I opened another file. Another man. Another date. The camera in the primary bedroom. The den. The hall. The kitchen. 5 dates across 2 months. Then 2 more. I stopped while there was still oxygen in the room. You told me real men forgive cheating. Harper said, voice shaking. But you weren't asking for forgiveness. You were asking for cover. Vanessa's eyes hardened. You're too young to understand adult pain. And you're too proud to say, I hurt people. Harper answered. I'm leaving. You will not, Vanessa snapped. I'm 20, Harper said, already at the door. And I'm done. When the door closed, the silence didn't feel like victory. It felt like a roof after a storm. Still standing, but not the same roof. My phone buzzed 5 minutes later. Harper, packing. Be back soon. I texted back, "Guest room is ready." That night, while water hissed in the kettle and wind fretted the maple outside, I stood in the kitchen and said her name into the hush just to make sure I still had it. Harper. The house said it back like a promise. The first week Harper lived with me felt like learning a language we used to speak without thinking. 2 bowls on the table again. Almond milk in the fridge because she'd switched last year. The TV volume lower at night. I started leaving a sticky note on the counter before work. "Quiz today? You got this." Left you the car. Batteries fickle. Jiggle the terminal. We avoided the word betrayal like it might stain the paint. But grief leaks. On the 3rd night, I heard her crying through the wall. I stood there useless with a mug of tea, practicing every opening line and rejecting them all. When I finally knocked, she wiped her eyes and let out a small laugh. "Dad, I'm okay." "Well, no, but I don't want to fall apart on your shirt." "If you ever need to," I said. "I own detergent." At breakfast, she said, "Mom texted 43 times yesterday, left 17 voicemails, and emailed to say she's hiring a lawyer. She claims you brainwashed me with illegal surveillance." "In Illinois," I said, "you can record in your own home. Hidden cameras are a gray area. Murky, but not the point." She won't sue. She won't risk a courtroom where truth has to sit under oath. "She's already working the neighborhood," Harper said, sliding me her phone. A thread of messages from people I hadn't spoken to since the split, each carrying a variation of Vanessa's talking points. "I'm controlling. I'm jealous. I manufacture video. I weaponize technology." The words were calm and deadly, the way surgeons talk before making the first cut. I took a breath. She's reversing victim and offender. Deny, attack, reverse. It's a playbook. Harper nodded. "Darvo. We studied it last semester." She managed a shadow of a smile. "You're not the only one who reads." That afternoon, her best friend Brooke Carter came by. Jeans, college sweatshirt, the courage to show up. "Mr. Reed," Brooke said, eyes earnest. "I believed Mrs. Cole for years." "I'm sorry. You don't owe me an apology," I said. "You were given a very convincing script." "She's in full damage control," Brooke said. "She asked me to talk Harper into moving back. She's telling people you fabricated everything because you're obsessive." "People can believe rumor," I said. "But truth has stamina." We built simple routines like scaffolding. Morning coffee together 2 days a week. Wednesday takeout when she worked late at the campus bookstore. Sunday walks at Whalen Lake when I didn't have to race a deadline. In the quiet between those rituals, I cataloged the parts of my life that had shrunk to fit around a lie, and I decided not to live small anymore. That decision started with a clean, careful email to Vanessa. No anger, just boundaries. "Vanessa, for clarity, Harper decides if, when she speaks with you, please stop contacting her friends to lobby on your behalf. Do not enter my property unannounced. Any further accusation that I fabricated evidence will be addressed formally. Mason." Her reply was instant and smooth. "I'm a mother trying to repair a relationship you sabotaged. If you make this public, you'll regret it. A threat is a flare in the night. It shows you where the next wave is coming from." That same week, Harper's professor offered her a paid summer internship at a civic tech nonprofit in downtown Chicago. She took it without hesitation. "I want to build something," she said, slicing an apple. "Not just react to chaos." "It's a good instinct," I said. "Construction beats demolition." 2 days later, Vanessa showed up on my porch without knocking. "She's my daughter too," she said when I opened the door. "You don't get to hide her." "I'm not hiding anyone," I said, keeping my tone even. "She's 20. She chooses." "You kept those videos," Vanessa said. "If you deleted them, none of this would be happening." "No," I said softly. "If you hadn't made them possible, none of this would be happening." For the first time, her face changed in a way I recognized as fear. Then she masked it, turned, and left. "Is this where you crush her?" Brooke asked later when I told them. "Like big revenge." "Revenge doesn't have to be a fire," I said. "Sometimes it's a ledger. Accurate, patient, undeniable." Brooke raised an eyebrow. "That sounds scarier." "It's safer," I said. "And it leaves the door open for something better than victory." "What's better than victory?" Harper asked. "Peace," I said, "and a life that doesn't orbit her choices." Still, there were lines to draw in ink, and one of them will be public. My revenge had 3 rules. Only truth. Only lawful avenues. No collateral damage to Harper. I started with documentation. Dates, times, receipts that contradicted work trips, plain language summaries. I organized everything in a private folder with simple names. Timeline_A, financial_B, communications_C. I spoke with a quiet attorney named Jordan Hale, whose entire personality was measured language. You don't want to sue, Jordan said after reviewing my notes. You want a firewall. Cease and desist for defamation, limited distribution of a statement if she continues, and tight boundaries around your daughter's peace. Exactly. Then you don't need a courtroom, Jordan said. You need paper and patience. We drafted a letter that didn't breathe fire. It breathed certainty. Ms. Cole, continuing to state or imply that Mr. Reed fabricated video recordings constitutes defamation. He has not distributed these recordings publicly, nor does he intend to, in order to protect your daughter's dignity. If you persist, we will pursue remedies. Please direct further communication to my office. We sent it. The neighborhood chatter quieted. Gossip hates lawyers. Next, I talked to my HR rep. During the divorce, Vanessa had contacted my employer twice to imply I was unstable. The complaints went nowhere, but they live in a file with my name on it. I asked to add a brief statement and the letter from Jordan. Not to slander, just to place facts in the same folder as a shadow. Harper watched me print the last page by the kitchen window. You're not trying to ruin her, she observed. No, I said. She's doing that work herself. I'm making sure the fallout doesn't hit you. You're allowed to be angry, she said, half teasing, half pleading. Like really angry. I said. For years. It made me small. I like this version better. She smiled. And then, like grief does, something sharp cut through the soft. Dad, she said, bracing her arms on the counter. Be honest. Did you ever stop loving her before the cheating? I stopped loving the story I'd written about her, I said. That happened slowly. The cheating made the story impossible to pretend. She nodded. That actually helps. The next strike wasn't mine. Vanessa posted a vague, healing message online with just enough detail for anyone to recognize me. She called me controlling. She described fabricated tech and surveillance. She wrote, real men forgive. Broken men punish. Jordan sent a second letter, firmer. I wrote a single, careful public response, 2 paragraphs, no clips, no names, just a line that said, I did not fabricate anything. I will not share private evidence. I wish everyone healing. Please don't involve her daughter. Then I made my move. When Vanessa moved men through our home, Harper's room wasn't just a room. It was a boundary. That line mattered. So my revenge targeted the behavior that enabled her to cross it. Entitlement without accountability. I met with the board chair of the local nonprofit, where Vanessa sat on a fundraising committee. I didn't show videos. I didn't even mention cheating. I brought records of how she had contacted Harper's friends, tried to coerce access, and misrepresented me publicly. I spoke about patterns, not shame. This isn't a vendetta, I said. It's a boundary around a young woman. They listened. They thanked me. A month later, quietly, Vanessa's name disappeared from the committee page. No press release. No spectacle. Just subtraction. She felt it. She called Harper, voice sharp with panic, pretending to be sadness. Harper put the call on speaker. You're letting your father destroy my life, Vanessa said. I'm letting your choices meet daylight, Harper replied. Harper. Mom, she said, steady now. Don't call my friends. Don't talk about Dad. If you want to talk to me, not my shadow. The call ended with the clean click of a line that would finally stay drawn. Vanessa showed up again on a Sunday like nothing had changed. She stepped inside 1 inch, testing whether the boundary would move. It didn't. I started therapy, she said, voice softer. I want to understand why I kept breaking things. Harper crossed her arms. Start by naming them. Vanessa looked at me, then at the floor. I brought strangers into our home, she said. The words were heavy, honest, late. Into your room. I told people your father was a monster, so they wouldn't look at me. Silence. The kind that waits. I don't expect forgiveness, she added quickly, sensing the trap of asking for it too soon. I expect effort. On me. Harper didn't move. Effort looks like months of quiet consistency, she said. It looks like never weaponizing Mom when you want control. It looks like no more stories to other people about Dad. Vanessa nodded like a person learning to stand after years of sitting crooked. Okay. After she left, Harper stared at the door a long time. You believe her? I asked. I believe she wants the cost to stop, Harper said. Whether that's remorse or relief will take time to tell. Time is honest, I said. The strong revenge from the husband. Everyone expects. The flaming speech, the public exposure, the nuclear option would have made a loud story. But loud doesn't always fix what's broken. So I chose a different script. I reported a narrow set of conduct where it mattered: defamation, boundary violations. I refused to give the internet a show. I made sure Harper's world was sturdier than Vanessa's storyline. And then I built a life that did not make me a permanent reaction to someone else's choices. But there was one last move I'd saved, clean and final. Years earlier, I'd agreed to keep certain financial matters quiet during the divorce, so Harper wouldn't be dragged through depositions. Vanessa broke the confidentiality first, hinting to neighbors that she'd taken me to the cleaners. Jordan filed a motion to lift that confidentiality only as to the claims she'd already made public. The court granted it. We released a short, factual summary through Jordan. Support paid on time and above minimums. Tuition commitments honored. Division of assets equitable. No arrears. No findings of misconduct against me. No adjectives. No adjectives were necessary. Gossip got bored. Truth isn't spicy enough to trend. Vanessa called. Not a rage. She'd learned that rage sharpened my focus. She apologized. Not perfectly. Not poetically. Incomplete, but real. I don't deserve grace, she said, but I want to be someone who could. That's not a sentence you say. I answered. It's one you live. 1 year after Harper moved in, we celebrated with takeout Thai at the kitchen island. The same island where, months before, we'd stacked letters and boundaries and the ache of finally telling the truth. She twirled noodles and smiled. Remember when I said, real men forgive cheating? Vividly. I thought forgiveness meant pretending it didn't happen, she said. Now I think it means you don't let what happened decide who you are. Forgiveness without boundaries is just permission, I said. And I'm done handing out permission slips. She laughed. Put that on a mug. Our routines became a life. She crushed her internship, then got invited to stay part-time during fall semester. On Thursdays we did groceries together because she liked choosing fruit, and I always forgot bread. Saturdays I fixed the rattling AC vent. Sundays we walked, sometimes without speaking, because not all closeness needs words. Vanessa kept going to therapy. She stopped posting sub-tweets about healing that blamed unnamed villains. She sent 2 short emails over 3 months, clear, accountable, without asks. She and Harper met twice in public places. No scripts, no recruiting allies. Just a mother trying to relearn how to mother without turning the role into a throne. Do you think I'll ever forgive her? Harper asked one night on the back steps, crickets doing the heavy lifting in the quiet. I think you'll decide what forgiveness looks like when you're safe enough to define it, I said. It might be distance. It might be a smaller relationship that hurts less. It might be something we don't have words for yet. She leaned her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was small, and the world ended every 30 minutes on a TV show before starting again. Dad, yeah. Thank you for not making your revenge my burden. I swallowed. The kind of swallow you pretend is about dry air. Thank you for wanting truth more than you wanted a hero. Months later, on an ordinary Tuesday, I got an email from Vanessa. No subject line dressed as a poem. Just this. I told my therapist the worst thing I did wasn't the affairs. It was teaching our daughter to distrust the one parent who put her dignity first. I don't expect you to write back. I'm writing so the record includes the truth. Finally for me. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish. Because sometimes the most honest response is the room a person needs to keep choosing better without applause. That evening, Harper and I were back on the couch. A game was on. We were halfway through a bowl of popcorn she'd over-buttered because I pretend not to like it and then always eat twice as much. She picked up the remote, muted the TV, and looked at me for a long heartbeat. Say it. I smiled. You didn't overreact, she said. You refused to live small. Both of us, I said. She nodded. Both of us. People think revenge is a dramatic monologue with a thunderclap ending. But the best revenge I've learned, the kind that holds under daylight and YouTube guidelines and the quiet test of 3 a.m., isn't a spectacle. It's this. Truth told carefully. boundaries held calmly, dignity kept fiercely, and a life rebuilt so steadily that the past can't yank you backward when it shouts. My name is Mason Reed. I am not the man I was when I pressed play. I'm better, because I chose not to burn down the world that hurt me. I built a different one instead. And the person sitting here beside me, who once swore she knew what real men do, is learning what real strength looks like in both of us. When the game ended, we didn't unmute. We let the room be quiet, the kind of quiet that keeps you.